Let's move on and let's do the player ratings, and let's start off with our goalkeeper, Venom Vicario. 8s all round for Vicario, and I thought he was another brilliant display from him yesterday. Some really important saves, especially the one in the first half from the corner from Palhinha's header. I thought it was a top save with one hand. There was a couple of moments playing out from the back were a bit nervy from Vicario yesterday, but all in all, I thought he had a brilliant game.
Yeah, there was one moment in the first half, wasn't there, where I think he made a dodgy pass and they nearly got something out of it, but luckily nothing came of it. But again, 2 crucial saves at 2 crucial times. That Palhinha save, for me, one of the saves of the season. How he clawed it out from that position through a sea of bodies as well was exceptional. At 2-0, where Fulham were looking to get back in the game, Jimenez goes through and he makes a brilliant save. So again, it's happened a few times this season where we're in control of the game and then the opposition get a big opportunity which could have really changed the flow of the game and the momentum, and he makes a big save and prevents that from happening. And that's all you can ask for from a goalkeeper when you're playing in a team who's going to dominate possession and going to be in control of the game for a lot. You need your goalkeeper to stay alert, stay awake, and sometimes you see it even with like Edison. Sometimes like City is so in control, he just switches off sometimes and makes a mistake, and all of a sudden that goal can change the game. Yeah. But Vicario has just been absolutely impeccable on that front, and he proved it again yesterday.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Mickey van de Ven. Sim gave him an 8. I gave him a 9. Absolutely stellar performance again. Imperious performance from Mickey van de Ven. I thought defensively, nothing really got past him apart from that one little mishap later in the game in the second half. Look, the stats bear out. I mean, 5 clearances, 1 interception, 2 tackles. Nothing really got past him, and also he was aggressive enough to forage up the pitch to impact that first goal. He wins the ball back in the middle of the park, gets it to Richarlison, and Spurs go 1-0 up with that lovely finish from Heung-Min Son. 3 of his 5 ground duels as well were successful. So Mickey van de Ven growing and growing as well again.
Yeah, another near faultless display from him. And I thought, as you say, really important impact to that first goal. And that's what I really like about Van de Ven. As much as he's calm and collected and he likes to sweep things that come over the top, he's also not scared to do that side of the game, step into midfield if need be and do a really high press and help the team, because he knows that he's really fast and strong. And that can be really impactful when it comes to pressing teams and opposition players high up the pitch. And it proved again against Fulham that can be a really important weapon if given the opportunity. Amount of times that the ball came over the top and he's just there sweeping behind and winning possession back easily and making it look like it's easy business to do that was exceptional again. The only bad point was he kind of got caught out a bit for the Jimenez chance, but again that was more from a Kulusevski mistake than him himself, so I'm not giving too much blame for that. But I thought again another amazing display from Van de Ven.
Cuti Romero up next. 9s all round for Cuti, and this was an astonishing display, to be honest. Yes, Fulham attack weren't too great, let's put it right, but Romero, I mean, he is just towing the line unbelievably perfectly well between being overly aggressive and having the right head on his shoulders. And I thought everything that he did yesterday was to a supreme level, to be honest. Nothing got past him. He was helping the ball get high up the pitch as well. No real fouls on the day. I thought, look, the guy is just growing and growing and growing, as well as Mickey van de Ven. And that partnership between the two is, again, growing and growing and growing. So I can't ask for more for Cuti Romero than what he's giving us at the moment.
Yeah, delighted about, for him and about his improving form this season as well. And I think this is more evidence of it. Again, he was just so commanding in the back line. He's so strong. Vinicius got hauled off at half time because he just wasn't getting a kick out of him. Jimenez only had that chance late in the game. Other than that, had nothing. Any set piece he was in control of. But it was on the ball where I was so impressed with him as well. His ability to play through the lines. He was almost like a number 10 at one point in that first half, where he plays a brilliant through ball to Kulusevski, who should have done better with. He's just got so much quality, but marries it with this amazing aggression and control in the back line as well. And he's just a delight to watch. He's such an exciting centre-back to watch as well when he's in full flight like he was yesterday.
His passing so great as well.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. So another top display. And I thought in the back line he was my best player.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I just couldn't put Van de Ven on a 9 as well, to be fair. But maybe Romero deserves a 10, who knows?
Yeah.
But Pedro Porro, 8s all round for him. Again, another stellar display from him. And ever since coming into the team as right back for that second game of the season against Manchester United, he's another player who's just come on leaps and bounds under Ange Postecoglou. I thought defensively, I thought he was brilliant yesterday with the number of tackles and interceptions that he was making, and also impacted things going forward where I thought maybe we could have got a goal out of him or an assist out of him on the day, but it wasn't meant to be. But another really good display.
Yeah, what I really like about Porro is what I think these things go under the radar, but they go a bit unnoticed. But when teams are pressing us high and we're trying to play our way out of trouble, he's got this amazing knack of playing a pass from a deep lying position on the right hand side and setting us up on an attack with a really good quality pass under pressure. And very few players in our squad are capable of that high quality level of seeing a picture under pressure like that with a little time and able to execute it with quality and precision like Pedro Porro was able to do. And on a few occasions yesterday, he was able to play these beautiful passes from literally like the right hand side of our own penalty area and set us up on counter attacks and set us up on putting the opposition under pressure. And he's so good at doing that. And obviously defensively, he against Willian, he was pretty comfortable against him. Willian really didn't have much joy against Pedro Porro again. Didn't see too much of him when it comes to him in an attacking sense in the final third, like maybe we have done in previous weeks. But I think it doesn't matter if he's the one particularly getting involved or not. At the end of the day, we're maintaining that attacking threat, and I think that's what Ange wants. He doesn't really, as what Maddison was kind of saying in his post-match interview, said like, sometimes I'm going to be the fullback and Udogie be the number 10 and vice versa. And it doesn't matter who's in those positions as long as someone is in those positions. So for me, as much as I think Porro's got the quality to do damage in the forward line, as long as we're maintaining that threat, I'm not going to criticise him for not having that attacking threat.
And it just makes us so fluid when everyone is just so comfortable on the ball as well. But let's move on to Destiny. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. Did go off early in the second half due to, what was it, illness or being uncomfortable in one of his muscles?
He said, Postecoglou said that he felt a bit of tightness in I'm not sure what muscle it was specifically, but he said he felt a bit of tightness in the first half, and he said he'd give it another 10 minutes or so in the second half, see how he does. And then we got the second goal, so they just brought him off.
Yeah, I did think he played well yesterday. Maybe not as well as he has done in the past. Maybe 8 is a bit too much for Udogie yesterday. But I did think he had a really strong game defensively. Nothing really got past him, and his link up with Richarlison on that left flank was top notch. So big up to Udogie, another strong display.
Yeah, I think he played well. I think he was a really good outlet on the left hand side. The only reason I gave him a 7 was because I felt he probably gave a bit too many fouls away. He was making a few stupid challenges in and around.
He gave away a lot of possession as well.
He gave away a bit of possession. I think he must have given away about 3 free kicks throughout the game, and that's one thing you can't afford to give Fulham, because they can be a threat from set pieces, and he gave them a few of those. He gave them a few of those opportunities. And I think even if it was tactical, I think it could have made sense. But I don't think he had a bad game. But I just think at some points he was struggling. Maybe it was because of that injury. That was the case.
Potentially. Let's move on to the midfield, starting off with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, 8 all round for PEH. Stepped in admirably well for the suspended Bissouma, you got to say that. And I thought the real highlight from Højbjerg yesterday was his passing, in my opinion. The way he was spraying the ball about, something that Bissouma doesn't really do to that kind of level. So I thought it was a brilliant attribute that Højbjerg showed for us yesterday. He was aggressive in the middle of the park. The amount of times he won the ball, he was kind of controlling things from that midfield. He definitely controlled the midfield yesterday and had his hand in the second goal, very similar to Mickey van de Ven. Pierre stepped up in the middle of the park, won the ball back, and Spurs went on their way to score their second goal and sealed off the game. So Højbjerg should be very proud of his performance yesterday. Yeah,
delighted for him. Obviously, a lot of people, he was the headline kind of team news, obviously replacing Bissouma, who a lot of people were worried about with the 1 game ban. But I think Højbjerg showed there's no reason to worry, because I think he showed he can step in that number 6 and do a great job. And we know he's a good player. We know he can be a consistent good player. Even this season, I think he's been good when he's been called upon and come off the bench, and in games where we've had to see out wins and things like that, he's done a great job. So I don't think there should be any major surprise that he comes in against a team like Fulham and is able to do a good job for the team. And I think he does things in a different way to Basuma. He's not the same player, different kind of player, but he's still very functional in that number 6. He uses his passing ability rather than his dribbling ability to progress the ball and create space. And I thought he did that to really good effect. Off the ball, defensively, we didn't really lose much with him in the team as well. I thought he was dominant in that period. And look, I think we need to give him more respect. I think he's a very good player. And I think people call him a dud and all that kind of stuff. I think that's far from the truth. I was always on record in the summer, unless we got a good offer of 30 million, I would have kept him. And this is a reason why, because we know he can step in these kind of situations.
Yeah. Let's move on to his midfield partner in Pape Matar Sarr. 7s all round for Pape. I thought it wasn't maybe as strong as it has been in previous weeks from Sarr, but still a good display nonetheless. First half, he was putting himself about massively, literally covering every blade of grass. He was everywhere in that first half. Second half, he did kind of diminish a little bit. Maybe he was tiring due to that injury or that knock that he picked up on international break. He was taken off on the hour mark, and probably rightly so, to be honest, because I think he was kind of tiring out the game, but still put in a really good display.
Yeah, I think it was, again, not one of his better ones, but I think he did a good job for the team. Wasn't really getting too involved when it comes to the attacking sense with any sort of through balls or shots on goal. But he really did do a good job for the team off the ball, which you need to do against this very strong Fulham midfield. I got not too many complaints about him, but maybe I feel like his performances in the last few weeks haven't maybe been as good as they were in the earlier few weeks. So there has maybe been a bit of decline. But look, he's a young player. That's going to happen all the time. A lot of young players always suffer with inconsistency, but I wouldn't say he's even been inconsistent, because he hasn't dropped below a certain standard. He's still been pretty good, but I think that he was maybe exceptional in the first few weeks and maybe hasn't been as good as he was then. But I wouldn't even be surprised that maybe if Ange considers going Basuma, Højbjerg and Maddison next game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good options to have, let's be honest. But I think as well with Pape Matar Sarr, I think he does a lot of amazing work off the ball, like you mentioned before, that maybe goes a bit unnoticed at times. So it'll be interesting to see if we do take Sarr out the team, if we do lose that kind of aspect as much as maybe we do with him in the team. It'll be interesting to see. But let's move on to James Maddison, my man, the match. 9s all round for Mads. Another absolutely stunning display from the best performing player in the Premier League at this moment in time, in my opinion. Everything that we were doing well was coming through him yesterday, whether he was dropping deep and winning the ball back, or he was hugged high up the pitch and really impacting things. Got his goal as well with a really nice finish. He was setting up Son all day long. The amount of times he won the ball back as well in the middle of the park was absolutely sensational. And you mentioned it in the review, saying he's the hub of the team, and I think that's just the perfect way to describe him, to be honest, because everything that we do comes through him.
Yeah, and we just look for him whenever we're in the final third. We know he's the one who has a little bit of spark, a little bit of magic. And he's also, whenever we're in the heart of like a free-flowing passing move, he seems to be the one who's always in the heart of that move. And he's always at the centre of it. And that chance that Kulusevski had a blocked shot on in that first half, he was completely central in the heart of that move. He's always buzzing in and around the box, and players, what's great about him is because he's such a long shot threat, teams know they need to close him down when he's in and around the penalty area, and that opens up space for other players, and he knows that. So he uses that to his advantage, and he plays little clever passes in and around the box, and his link up with Sonny yesterday, with him passing to Sonny, he was unlucky not to maybe get an assist with a through ball in the early exchanges and some really clever passes in around the penalty area. I thought he was pretty brilliant, and then obviously he got a really cool finish for his goal, his first goal in front of the Spurs fans as well, which was a really nice sight to see. Really,
it's actually mad, that, isn't it? Like before yesterday, 7 goal contributions all away from home.
Yeah, which, look, obviously we need that away from home, which is great in its own right that he's stepping up. But it's also great that, and it's not like he's been bad at home. He just hasn't had the goal contribution contributions. And looking at the goal as well, I watched it again, and it was actually a lot more smarter finish than maybe people get credit for, because he gets a tiny little lift and bend on that finish, where a lot of players in that position will maybe slide it along the floor. But if you see the finish, he actually lifts it a tiny bit, curls it around Leno's leg, and just gives him no chance to save it. And it was a really nice, tidy finish into the corner. And knowing Maddison, look, he's on 3 goals already. I want to see him hit 10 this season, because we know he's got that ability to do that.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt he'll hit 10 goals this season. And, you know, he's already on 5 assists. He's
8 goal contributions in 9 games.
3 goals. Is that 3 goals?
3 goals and 5 assists.
Like, if he's already on 8 at this stage of the season, where we're just under a quarter of a way through, what do you reckon he's going to end up on?
25, hopefully.
25.
At least, hopefully.
I think that's what Invert the Wing says, doesn't he? Or no, he says 25. He says Son 25 goal plus. And Maddison, I think he said 10 goals.
Whatever Invert the Wing says is probably going to come true. So,
but let's move on to Richarlison. Sims gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. I thought it was his best 45-minute period of the season. This in the first half, he was very much involved in everything that we were doing. Lovely little assist for Heung-Min Son as well, where Heung-Min Son obviously had the rest to do after that, which he did really well. But his link-up play with Udogie on the left-hand side was top-notch. He did kind of not really get into the game in the second half, but I thought for that first half performance alone, that's why I rated him an 8.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with him. Again, I think it marks his upturn in form and his improvement. I think he's getting better and more confidence as the games go on, which is really great. I think ever since he's come back from that international break, where, you know, he had a few home truths, but he had to open up about a few things. I think his form that's definitely been a weight off his shoulder, I feel, and I think you can see the improvement in him. And I think playing on the left hand side, I thought he did a really good job in that first half, being a nuisance for Fulham. He was constantly an option. He was linking up with Udogie, got a really good assist. He had a nice effort on the edge of the box, which just flashed just past the post, which was a nice effort from him as well. Had an effort in the second half, which he blazed over the bar, which he probably should have done better with. But he's just getting more involved in the play and getting more involved in the chance creation and the finishing as well. And I just hope that he can get 1 or 2 goals to his name and he can get on a good run, because we know he's a good finisher. We know he can get goals in this league. He's shown it before for Everton. So I think his goal return will come if he keeps getting in these positions. But I think his performance level is improving. And now I didn't think he was amazing, but I was much happier with him again than I was at the beginning of the season. And
4 goal contributions in his last 6 games. It's nothing to be sniffed at. That is a really good return for someone who everyone is berating all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy for Rishi and his performance yesterday. Let's move on to Dejan Kulusevski. 7s all round for Dejan, and I think look, it wasn't a bad performance by any stretch of the imagination and did a really important work for the team, but I just get a bit frustrated with his end product and his inability to shoot sometimes, and not laying off as well as crosses as we know that he can do. But what he does do well for the team is his off the ball, his ball retention as well, and being just a sheer physical presence up there on that right hand side of the attack. So there's good and there's bad in there from Kulusevski, but we know that he can get much better than what he's showing.
Yeah, I think so. I think you always watch him and you always feel like he's got a bit more to give when it comes to his ability in the final third to set up a goal or score a goal. And I think this season has been a bit of an example of that. But I just really appreciate the really good role he does for the team with his ball carrying ability and getting into the penalty area and keeping ball and his ball retention, keeping the ball away from his opposition fullback and making sure that we're progressing the ball up the pitch. It's much more easier said than done. And not many players have that ability that he does to do that on such a regular basis. So I do appreciate that, but definitely in this game specifically, he had a few chances to pull the trigger in front of goal and hesitated a few times, and the chance ultimately goes begging, and we didn't end up getting goals from those opportunities. But he did set up a couple of opportunities, one especially for Richarlison that first half, which was a really good breakaway, and that was a nice pick out from him. But if he's not getting goal contributions, people are going to get a bit frustrated, and that happened.
And last but not least of the starting 11, Heung-Min Son, our captain, a goal and an assist on the day. Both of them really nice, to be honest. The goal he took so well, smashed it into the top right-hand side of the corner. The assist, how he laid it onto Maddison, I thought was top-notch. But it wasn't just that. I thought his link-up play, him finding those pockets of space at the number 9 position were all to a really high level. And he's growing and growing and growing in this number 9 position. And he's made it his own, hasn't he? After the first 2 games of the season where Richarlison played that role and didn't really do much there. And as soon as Son has been in that position since Burnley, scoring that hat-trick that day, he's just made that role his own, and I couldn't be happier because the finishing that he does show, and the finish, he's just so clinical. He did miss a chance earlier on in the first half, but he got his goal, he got an assist, and we couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah, it's a bit weird to think about. If you look back at the first 3 games of the season, we're actually playing the same front 3 that we did now. We just swapped Son and Richarlison. It's kind of taken Richarlison's loss of form and then Solomon to come in and Son to go to centre, then Richarlison to come back in the team to kind of fully kind of find out how we want to play in the forward line. And I think Son, look, he's absolutely excelling at the moment. There's no doubt about it. We know he's the best finisher in the Premier League, or one of at least, or in Europe especially, with his amazing finishing. He proved that again against Fulham. But a big question mark is always going to be around how can he adapt his game to get more involved in build-up play? Can he bring other players into play? Well, 4 key passes in the game, which is more than anyone else apart from Maddison, tells you that definitely he can. I
love that's the stat now, just apart from Maddison, just because Maddison is just too good.
Well, it's level with Maddison actually. It's both on 4, but yeah, 100%, of course. 3 out of 4 dribbles as well completed, which shows he's able to get on the ball and take people on, and still have that ability in his game as well, even in the central area. And what I love about him at the moment is his little. Because one of the biggest criticisms I had of Richarlison in the first few weeks is when the ball is fired into him and he's asked to keep possession, either do a little layoff or hold possession away from the opposition. He just wasn't capable of doing it. He lacked quality in doing it. And what Son is showing is he has that quality and ability to bring other players into play, have little smart layoffs which look easy to do, but you have to do it consistently, and it really does help progress the play and bring other players into the forward line as well. And he's doing an exceptional job. And maybe, him being the captain and having that more sense of responsibility for the team is bring that side of him out of him a bit more. Or maybe he's been working on it a bit more, because it's really something he's starting to excel at. Obviously, he's not a striker who's going to be getting on the end of things from crosses and things like that, especially with his head, and be out muscling defenders, but he's using his strengths, and we're playing to his strengths, and that is quick movement, passes into feet, trying to get shots off as quickly as possible with his finishing ability, and it's working a treat. 7 goals in 9 games, 8 goal contributions as well. Brilliant assist for Maddison, really nice layoff as well for him, which goes to show how good those layoffs have been. So another really strong display from Heung-Min Son, and you know what, if he carries on this kind of form, who knows, why can't he challenge Haaland?
I have no reason why he can't. He absolutely can. I mean, Haaland doesn't seem, maybe, I know he's still getting goals and 8 goals this season, but I don't know, he doesn't seem as, maybe it's the De Bruyne factor, maybe because he doesn't have De Bruyne with him supplying him the balls, but he doesn't seem the same as he was last season.
I mean, we're talking about him struggling, but he's still in the top goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
But look, you never know with Haaland.
He's missed like 9 key chances.
He has, and that's also something to point out. The fact that he's challenging Haaland, yet Son has yet to miss a big opportunity this season, and Haaland has missed 9. So that just goes to show.
Was that one in the first half not considered a big opportunity?
I don't think so, because it wasn't an easy chance. Even though he was 1-on-1, but he was stretching. I don't think it counts as a big opportunity. So I'm not saying it wasn't a good opportunity, but I don't think it counts technically as a big one. But I think it just goes to show his unbelievable finishing ability, and the difference in the level of the amount of chances Haaland gets compared to Son. I think that is that shows how amazing his finishing ability is, that he's still keeping pace for Haaland.
Yeah, so true. Let's move on to the subs and start off with Ollie Skip, 6 all rounds for us. He came on with around half an hour to go for Pape Matar Sarr. Look, I think Skip put himself about a lot, and he was putting in challenges, and he was really combative, and you definitely knew he was there. But I thought his passing let him down on the day. I mean, how many times was there some wayward passing there? And I thought after those subs were made on the hour mark, we did look a bit more disjointed than when Pape Sarr was in the middle of the park there. So I don't think it was a great performance by Skip, but it wasn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I think he came into the team at a point in the game where we were struggling as a team to kind of keep the ball, and he was maybe also symptomatic of that. I don't think he was particularly great. I don't think he was particularly bad either. I thought he put a shift in and was there to be counted for off the ball and really helped us see out the result. Off on the ball, did lack a bit of quality, I have to say. Wasn't really his best display on the ball, but I wasn't too unhappy with what he did to allow us to see out the result.
And last but not least, the last player that we're going to rate is Emerson Royal, who also came on around, what was it? He came on for Udogie, didn't he? 10 minutes in to the second half. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I actually thought he was good, Emerson. Sometimes he was on the right, sometimes he was on the left. I didn't know which position he was actually playing in. But the only reason I marked him up to a 7 because I thought he made some really good blocks later on in the game to maybe where Fulham could have got themselves back in the game. And I thought Emerson did a really good job.
Yeah, he defensively, he came on and was pretty solid. I didn't think he was particularly good on the ball when he was on the left-hand side. I think he struggled to know what to do with it or how to really approach the play when he was on the left-hand side. It seemed to be a bit lost. He was a bit lost on the ball when he was on that left-hand side. Not too many issues when he was on the right. But yeah, I think he did some good defensive work. I just think on the ball we lost a lot. On the ball, so yeah, we lost a lot when he was on it. But pretty much that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And let's finish off talking about big Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 9. And I did have 8 written down, but I bumped him up 1 just because of the stat of him being the best manager ever in the Premier League after the first 9 games. 23 points. I think the best under him was a chap called Mike Walker and Gus Hiddink for Chelsea as well. And it's an unbelievable stat when you think about it, when you think about all the great managers that have been in the Premier League. To have the most points ever after 9 games, after your first 9 games in the Premier League is absolutely sensational. He's changed the face of this club from top to bottom. In this game specifically, I don't think it was probably our best game of the season, but it was a very comfortable game. And that was down to the tactics that Ange Postecoglou deploys. I think every player has come on leaps and bounds, and you're seeing maybe you saw Ange being a bit angry and a bit downhearted about the way that we were playing in that second half. And I'd love to see that after a 2-0 win, still having the criticism of where you don't think things are good enough. And to be top of the league, 2 points clear, 9 games in, you can only have praise for the man.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm delighted that he's keeping himself and the team to high standards even after a 2-0 victory where we've gone top of the league after 9 games. He's still saying, look, that wasn't good enough. We need to improve this. And I think it's a good time to do it in a way because when you've got a win like that, I think, and everyone's buzzing, going top of the league and you're in great form, I think it's a good time just to let the players know we can't stop here. Like, there are so many things you need to improve and this wasn't good enough. Like, in this second half, you didn't do what you should be doing on the ball. And I think after a win, it's probably a good time to send that message because after a loss, maybe players are dejected and they're not happy with the situation. And maybe that's the time to maybe throw your arm around the shoulder and tell them how they can improve rather than after a win tell them how great they are. Maybe now's a good time to because I think they're maybe more receptive to that message when they're in a good mood. And I would say in this specific game, the game management wasn't amazing, but it was fine. It obviously got the job done with 1-2-0. Wasn't a massive problem. I just felt like the subs that we made in that second half did make us a bit disjointed. Obviously, the Udogie one's a bit forced into, and that definitely didn't help us.
Was too as well.
And the Sarr one as well. But I felt like though he made a triple change right at the end, and all 3 of them really failed to get involved in it. Apart from maybe Lo Celso, I thought Valise and Brendan Johnson couldn't really get too involved in the game, and we really struggled to keep possession for that last 15 minutes, and we allowed Fulham to dominate possession. But that's nitpicking, I would say. I think by and large, the team played really well. There was barely any bad performances in the team. I thought the first half were pretty exceptional, how we dominated Fulham, and we should have been more than a goal up, and maybe we're talking about something different if we were. And more good stuff from Ange Postecoglou, so very few complaints from me.
Yeah, and still unbeaten after 9 games in the Premier League. But that is our player ratings. Let me know your ratings in the comments section below.